We grew a promotional products company's organic search performance by 130% year over year. And in this video, I'm going to be walking you through the exact steps that we took to achieve this and showing you how you can improve your promotional products company's organic search performance and get more sales and leads through Google. I'll start by walking you through the 5 stages I'll be covering in this video. And for the purposes of this high-level SEO analysis, I'm going to be choosing a random promotional products company based in Australia, and we'll cover off these 5 stages for that company. So starting with stage 1, keyword research, what we'll be looking at there is the existing keywords that website ranks for, as well as doing a keyword gap analysis to work out keywords that their competitors rank for that their website doesn't rank for. And then in stage 2, we'll be doing a technical audit. So as part of this, we'll be using a tool called Screaming Frog to run a full site crawl, and then we'll be analyzing the data that we get from that. And then stage 3, we'll be doing a content audit. So this will be looking at the on-page content and working out areas of opportunity that we can improve that content to drive better SEO performance. Stage 4, we'll be looking at the link profile review. So this is to do with their backlinks profile. We'll do a anchor text distribution review as well. And then to wrap it all up in stage 5, I'll be listing out the action items that we'll be taking for each of the URLs and just summarizing the improvement opportunities that we've uncovered. All right, so jumping into stage 1, which is the keyword research phase. The first thing we're going to do is jump into SEMrush, and we'll choose a promotional products company to audit for this video. So what we'll do is jump into the keyword overview tool, and we'll search for promotional products companies. And this will give us a list of all of the top 100 ranking promotional products companies. And then all I want to do is go down to about page 4 or 5, and I will choose this business here. So Mad Dog Print. It's completely random. It doesn't really matter. We're basically going to be running through the process for this company. Now, based on this competitor here, what we'll do is open up the overview section. And then the first thing we want to do is look at their existing keywords. So we'll look at view all keywords. So they've got about 88 keywords that they rank organically for in Australia. And then we're going to export out this list to an Excel sheet. So we'll export out the full list. Now jumping into the Excel file, what we're going to do is copy all of the keywords. And I've created a new Google Sheet here, and basically we have the 5 different stages that I'll be covering, starting with keywords. So we'll paste in the keywords into here. And then I'm just going to do a bit of categorization for these keywords. So we'll use the conditional formatting rules of Google Sheet. So I'll highlight column A, and we'll use conditional formatting to basically highlight any keyword that contains the keyword promotional products. So we'll do text contains, and we'll search for keywords that contain this term. And I'll just click done. And basically all that does is it'll highlight all the terms that contain promotional products for us. And this will just help us later on in the process so that we know that these are the key focus areas that we want to work on improving. The next thing I want to do is just add another column, and we're going to categorize these keywords that we've just copied in as existing keywords. So all these keywords this particular website already ranks for, because the next thing we'll do is the keyword gap analysis. So if we jump into here, I've already got the keyword gap tool open. And what we want to see here is any keywords that the competitors rank for that this particular site doesn't rank for. And we're just going to choose these competitors based on what SEMrush is suggesting, but if you do know your top competitors, you can manually put in the websites into there. So I'm just going to be selecting the ones that already come up for the purposes of this video, and we'll try and put in about 3 into here, and then we'll click compare. And like I said, this will give us all of the unique keywords that these competitors are ranking for, and these are opportunities for this website to also go after these keywords. So again, we're going to export this list out into an Excel sheet, and then we'll simply just copy all of these unique keywords into the same sheet. So I've just gone down to the bottom of this list, and we'll paste them in. And basically in this new column that we've created, what we're going to do is mark these as untapped. So these are from the keyword gap analysis, and we know that the client site does not rank for these keywords. So these are all opportunities for us to go after at a later stage. Now, jumping into stage 2, we'll be doing the technical site crawl. And as I mentioned, we'll be using Screaming Frog for this process. Now, I've got Screaming Frog open here, and I've just put in the URL of the website. There's a couple of things that we want to do just before we run this crawl. If we head into the API section, these are all the different tools that we can connect up in order to get some data points for this website. Now, if this was one of my clients, typically I would connect up the Search Console as well as Hrefs. Now, because this isn't a client that we have access to, we're simply going to be connecting up Page Speed Insights, which will give us access to how well the website loads, and it will give us performance scores for each of the different URLs for this website. So we'll connect up that API. Okay, so now that the site crawl has completed, we're simply going to export out all the data that it's collected. Now, all I want to do is copy all of this data and we'll paste it into the technical audit sheet that we created within this Google Sheet. So all the data will go into here, and then we're just going to do some basic analysis to uncover technical improvement areas for this website. So I'm just going to freeze this top row to make it easier to see. Now, the first thing I'll do is add a filter into this column, and we're just going to filter it to the indexable pages, because for the purposes of a technical audit, we only want to be making improvements to the pages that actually rank in Google. So we'll filter this to indexable. And the first thing I typically like to do is look at the title column to find any instances of keyword cannibalization. And the easiest way to do this is just to sort this by A to Z, and that will show us any duplicate titles. So we can see here, for example, there's about 4 pages here that have very similar titles, clearly just targeting different locations here. So not necessarily an issue, but it's something we'd want to investigate to make sure that the content on all of these city pages is actually unique. If it is basically being copied over and then the title is being changed, then we would have instances of duplicate content there. So that's something I would flag just to have a look at to make sure that that is unique. And then this one as well here, this is also a city page. So straight off the bat, we can see that those have very similar titles. So that's something we want to explore. And then similar issue here, where we can see that there's custom leather keychain pages for different cities. So these are all being created for different to target different city keywords. So again, we'll have a look at those. And then as we go down this list, these all look to be okay. Same here, we can see that there's 3 different pages with the same title, and that's actually quite a bit of an issue here. Because they're targeting the keyword best promotional product Perth within a blog post, within a category page, and then within another category page here. So this is a clear case of keyword cannibalization. The goal should be to target the same keyword on unique pages. So if the target keyword was promotional product Perth, we want to make sure that we only have one page targeting that. And then obviously for blog posts, that's actually not even the right intent to be targeting on that page. So clear case of keyword cannibalization there. And as we go down this list, we'll be able to easily spot any other instances. So keep going down here. These are all the different products, and then we can see here again there's pages created for cities with different product titles, so we can review those to make sure that they are all unique. And then it's kind of a theme across this website where we can see lots of different city pages being targeted for each product, and it's a strategy that may work. It just depends on how unique that content is for each of those pages. Now as you scroll further, this one here seems like it's actually an issue because they're targeting the keyword custom aluminium key rings across all of these pages. Now the city may be different, but if you've got the same primary keyword in the title, that would create instances of keyword cannibalization because that keyword itself is not modified by a location. So This one will be one to review as well. And as we scroll down, we can see further instances of city pages using the same keyword. It's very prevalent across the site. So I won't highlight all of them. It's clearly a site-wide issue that would need to be resolved. But there's a number of pages here that we'd want to look at and fix up the keyword targeting on. Now, moving further to the right, we want to have a look at the meta description column. This isn't something that's going to make or break your SEO campaign, but it's typically one of the best practices. You want to make sure that you have a meta description that's filled out for each page or each page that you want to rank. And also that the meta description is unique and targeting the keyword that you want to rank for. Again, we can see that the same pages that are targeting the same keywords have very, very similar meta descriptions, if not the same. For example, here, these are all the same meta descriptions. So that's something we want to resolve. The other thing we can also do here is find pages that are missing the meta description. So we can use conditional formatting again to basically say if any of the rows are empty in here, we can highlight them as green. And we'll be able to spot any instances of missing meta descriptions. Again, it's not something that's going to make or break your campaign, but it's just one of those best practices that you want to make sure you're ticking off. Now, scrolling further to the right, the last couple of things I want to have a look at is the crawl depth, which is how deep the page is in the site architecture. So I'm just going to filter this to any pages that are sort of above a crawl depth of 3. And these pages, depending on how important they are, we want to review these to make sure that if they are pages that are high priority or that pages that we do want to rank for, we want to try and find opportunities to push these up further in the site architecture. In this case, it looks like most of these are product categories or specific products, which wouldn't necessarily be a priority. So we'll leave those ones as is, and I'll reset this filter back to normal. And then the last thing I want to look at is the unique inlinks column. And we want to make sure that each page has at least 2 or 3 unique inlinks coming from authoritative pages on the site, just so that we are distributing the page rank evenly. Now, pages that have less than sort of 2 internal links would typically qualify as an opportunity to enhance internal link building. Now, obviously, for an e-commerce site, there's going to be many product pages, so I would typically ignore those. But if there are category pages in this list, like there's one there, we'd look to build internal links to those pages, just to sort of distribute that page rank across to the most important pages on the site. Jumping into stage 3, where we'll be looking at the content side of things and doing a bit of content analysis for some of the top pages for this website. Now, typically with content audits, I would prioritize pages in batches of 10. So based on the keyword research, we would have a priority list of keywords that we want to target, as well as the pages that are ranking for it. Now, for the purposes of this high-level SEO analysis, I'm just going to be choosing a couple of key focus keywords that we want to analyze. So just back in SEMrush here, I'm in the domain overview tab, and I'm just going to go back into the existing keywords that they rank for, and we're going to filter this by positions. So we want to look at keywords that aren't performing particularly well, but they could if we improve the content. So we'll look at keywords that are in the top sort of 11 to 20 positions. So they're not on the first page, but they're close to ranking on the first page. And typically, if you are ranking in the top 20, there may be some improvements that we could make that can push us up into the first page in the short term. So just looking through these keywords, let's say we choose one that has relatively decent search volume. So this one here has 140 searches, corporate merchandise Brisbane. Now, this is a page that's ranking for this particular keyword. So what we'll do here is, if we want to analyze the content on this page, we're going to use a tool called Surfer SEO. So first thing we'll do is copy in this URL. We'll jump into Surfer and then head into the audit tab. We'll paste in the URL here, and then the keyword is the keyword that we want to target for this page, which we know in this case is corporate merchandise Brisbane. So we'll just type this keyword into here, and we'll make sure that we're looking at results for Australia, and then we'll create the audit. So this will take a couple of minutes to run. Okay, now that the audit is done, we'll click into the results, and this will show us the report for how well the on-page content is optimized for our target keyword, which is corporate merchandise Brisbane, and also give us this overall content score, which analyzes the top ranking competitors and gives us a comparative score of how well our content is optimized. So we can see with this website, or with this URL rather, that there's plenty of opportunities for improvement. The top ranking competitors has a score of 62, but when you look at sort of the average, it's around that sort of mid 50s to 60. So there's plenty of room for opportunity for this website. Now, if we look at this section here, this is probably the most important section in this report because it gives us the NLP keywords that we need to use to improve the contextual relevance of this page. And this is again looking at the top ranking competitors and giving us sort of rough densities and keywords that we need to include within the page. Now, we need to use a manual analysis to determine which ones are suitable and which ones aren't. Just because they are in this list doesn't mean we need to include all of them or that we need to meet the keyword densities that it's suggesting. We always want to use a nuanced approach in terms of injecting these terms, but we do want to make sure that we're trying to hit as many of these terms as possible as long as they are relevant to the primary keyword. So this is an important area that we can cover off. There's obviously lots of opportunities here for us to add some of these terms into it. And then as we scroll down below, the other thing we want to look at is the word count. Now, again, this can vary and we don't necessarily need to meet the suggested range. But we do want to try and be in this sort of middle range to meet the minimum requirements for the keywords that these top competitors have. And this is quite low on content, so there's a clear opportunity here to add some more depth to the page. And the three other key areas we want to look at is the keyword in the title, the keyword in the first sentence of the content, and then obviously the keyword in the H1 is also very, very important. So we're missing all of these key areas here that we can add the keyword into. And this is a really, really important report because it can give us some really clear guidance on as to how we can optimize the on-page performance. Now, the other thing we want to do is run a duplicate content scan. So if we jump into SiteLiner here, you will need a premium subscription for this, so you'll need to add some credits into it. But I do believe this is a very, very useful tool, and it will basically give us all of the duplicate content on the website. So we want to make sure that the content is unique across the different category pages for this promotional product site. So this scan will show us how unique the content is on each page, and additionally it will also show us any broken internal links that are on this page that we can resolve. So I'll run the scan for the whole website, so this will take a couple of minutes as well. Now, once the scan is done, you'll want to export out the duplicate content as well as the broken links. In this case, there aren't any, but we'll export out the duplicate content and we'll paste this back into the Google Sheet that we have. All right, onto stage 4, which is the backlink profile analysis. And this is pretty simple. We're basically going to be doing two different things here. First one is we're going to look at the existing backlink profile and we'll do a quick analysis to see how the anchor text distribution looks. And then the second thing we're going to do is a backlink gap analysis, which is similar to the keyword gap. We're going to be looking at backlink opportunities that the competitors of this site has that this particular site doesn't already have. So we'll start with the first one, which is to export a list of existing backlinks. So back in SEMrush here, we're going to click on backlink analytics. And then we're just going to go into the backlink section, and pretty simple, we're going to export out this list of backlinks and we'll paste this back into the sheet that we have. So we're going to paste them into the backlinks tab, and then this is all of the existing backlinks, which we'll do a little bit of analysis on in a second. Now back in SEMrush, we're going to do the backlink gap analysis. So we'll click on backlink gap, and I've also just got the domain overview tab open here, which is our first one there. And we're just going to take some of these top competitors to do this gap analysis. Now, if you're familiar with your competitors, then you can put those in directly into here. Now, because I'm not familiar with this site, I'm just going to copy in the ones that SEMrush is suggesting, and we'll put in about 3 or 4 competitors to give us a good sample size. And essentially what this is going to give us is a list of all of the backlinks that these websites have that this particular site doesn't already have. And we're going to use this to build a list of link prospects that we can also outreach to try and match these backlinks. So once this loads, we're basically going to export this list out, and then we'll paste it back into the Google Sheet. Now I'm just going to create another tab called Backlink Gap, and we'll just separate out the existing backlinks from the link gap analysis. Now jumping back into the backlinks column, we're just going to do a quick analysis of the anchor text distribution. So if we open up this column here, we're just going to filter the anchors column so that we can have a look at how the anchor text distribution looks. So we'll set up a filter here, and we're just going to sort this from A to Z, just so we can see how similar the anchor texts are. And then we'll give it a moment to load. So we can see there's a lot of empty anchors here. So we'll scroll down, and then basically these are all of the anchor texts that this website's domain has. Now, most of this looks relatively okay. These sort of ones where you have multiple duplicates of the same anchor would be a concern. You don't want to have overly aggressive anchor text targeting, especially when you're using the primary keyword, and this just looks really, really odd. So it doesn't look like a natural link profile, and this is something that Google does look out for as well. And we can see there's quite a few instances of this where the same anchor has been repeated many times. Like this one is just way too many times to have the same anchor that exactly the same and to have it that long. So this is an issue that would ideally need to be cleaned up. And as we scroll through, we can see with basketball uniforms, it's really, really aggressive and over the top anchor targeting. So yeah, there's just way too many of these here. So clearly this link profile doesn't come across as natural in any sense. And typically what I would do in this case is actually start to build more relevant backlinks and to diversify this anchor text profile just so it looks a little bit more natural. Now, given the scale of the amount of links I've got with the same anchors, this is going to be a very long process for this particular site. So a lot of work to be done here. But it does give us a starting point in terms of the backlink analytics aspect of it. Is we want to try and diversify this as much as possible and clean this up. And looking at the scale of this is probably a few years work to actually clean this up and get it to a level where it resembles a natural link profile. So yeah, plenty of work to be done there. And then in terms of backlink gap, typically what I would do here is just sort this through by authority score. So we'll have the highest at the top. And then we can see here there's a couple of decent opportunities. If we sort this from Z to A, doesn't look like it's sorting correctly, but yeah, there's some decent link profile opportunities here. So we can see some of the competitors have these high authority sites. And this is really just a manual analysis to look through these and work out which ones we can realistically acquire as well for this site. But yeah, there's definitely opportunities here. We just manually look through it and make a short list of the ones that are realistic to acquire for us as well. Now on to the last stage, which is to build a recommendations list. This will contain a list of all of the specific action items that we can take to improve the overall SEO performance of this site. Now I'll be building this from scratch, and I'll touch on a few of the points that I'll mention in this list. Starting with the page loading speed, this is very important. It's not a direct ranking factor, but it definitely does have an impact on your overall site performance and in terms of user experience, which is an important signal for Google in terms of rankings. Now, I've run a page speed insights report here, and we can see that the desktop performance score is about a 25, and then the mobile fares quite a bit worse, which is about 5. So a lot of improvement here to be done. Typically, I recommend that you get up to at least an 80 performance score for both mobile and desktop. Now, this is quite a way off that, so we don't necessarily have to get to 80, but if we can make significant improvements on these scores, it will definitely have an impact on overall rankings across the site. So Looking at mobile here first, this report does give us some specific items that we can work on, and they're really just prioritized based on the impact that it will have on the page loading speed. A couple of these items, for example, here, minimize main thread work, has a nearly 15-second impact on loading speed. So what I would recommend is actually working through some of these high impact ones first. That can actually shift the needle quite a bit. And most of these are, from a development perspective, relatively straightforward to implement. Obviously, some of them may require some site restructuring or recoding, so it may not be as straightforward, but at least the ones that are fairly easy to do, I'd highly recommend implementing these. And then typically with desktop, if you do improve the mobile loading speed, that will automatically improve desktop as well. And as we can see, it's actually easier to get a higher score on desktop versus mobile. So this is a very, very important first step from a technical perspective and user experience perspective. It's very important to get this right. So I'm just going to link this report in this sheet here. And then as part of this process, what I'll also do is a manual qualitative analysis of the website, just from a user experience perspective. And really, this is a subjective analysis in terms of what I feel would improve the overall user experience and engagement metrics, which, like I said, do have an impact on your overall SEO performance. Now, just having a look at the site here, the first thing we can see is these banners. And what is pretty obvious is that these are pretty much all image. So this text is part of the image. And as we slide through, all of the sliders have embedded text on them. Now, from an SEO perspective, that's not best practice. We want to make sure that if there is any content, that it is crawlable by Google. And when it's embedded in the image, this basically just gets seen as an image. And typically this text within the image will have no impact on the ranking of the website. So typically I would actually recommend that we swap these out to just a one static header, and that just has sort of your primary keyword in it and your primary call to action. And yeah, like I said, just have native text written on the image rather than have it embedded. And then as we scroll through, one of the first things I notice is that this content here looks to be a little bit over optimized. Now, if we do a simple Control F for promotional product, we can see there's about 20 matches here. So it is quite repetitive. It does look to be written for SEO, which is not a great user experience. And it looks to be cases of keyword stuffing here. So this is something that probably needs to be de-optimized and cleaned up a little bit, and any redundant text can be removed. Now, when we look at the structure of the headings, first thing here I noticed was that the title tag is actually targeting two different keywords. So you've got promotional products Perth, which is a local intent keyword for the homepage. And then you've also got best promotional items in Australia. So this, I would argue, has a slightly different search intent, whereas this one is purely a local search intent. So you probably don't want to be targeting both of these on the same page, and you're probably creating instances of keyword cannibalization by doing this. So this is something that probably needs to be rectified. Now, looking at the heading structure, there really isn't one. So usually you'd want to have a nice flow from H1 all the way through to H4, H6, just depending on how you want to structure it. But your H1 tag is the most important, so you want to have your primary keyword in there, which by the looks of it would be promotional products Perth. So that definitely should be in the H1 tag. And then you just want to have your H2s flow on from there. So you might have some variance of that keyword. It's not overly important, but you do want to have that structure flow really nicely and in order of the heading tags. It just makes it easier for Google to crawl and understand the context of the site and of that particular page. Now we'll take a look at some of the specific pages, and I'm just going to do a quick spot check to see how the pages are structured. Usually the structure of the category pages would be pretty similar across all the categories. So if we have a look at headwear and then beanies, for example, we can see we've got the heading there, and then subheading, and then you've got the products. And now this is something here that I would actually recommend taking out. It is very common in a lot of these older sites. If you don't have a direct call to action and a incentive for people to actually sign up to your newsletter. Typically, this will get ignored. So if you just have a generic sort of front end offer and then you're asking for an email address, this is very, very unlikely to be used, and it's just taking up real estate on the page. And more importantly, it just makes the page look dated. So I would recommend taking this out. Now, again, we'll take a look at the structure of the page. We can see that they're targeting custom printed beanies. Looks to be a typo here, actually. So that would need to be fixed. And then promotional beanies Perth. So that doesn't look too bad. Obviously, the typo is not a good look, but that can be resolved. Now, heading 1 tag is just beanies, which is a little bit strange. So that should be more descriptive and contain the primary keyword. And now the other thing we can see is a bunch of H3s that are blank. So clearly some structural issues with this page, and I imagine across the other category pages as well. So again, something we can jot down to have a look at in the recommendations list. And yeah, we can resolve this. And then I'll just spot check one on the page here. So we may have a look just in promotional products and then drink bottles. And again, we can see this seems to be across the side. So definitely recommend removing that newsletter section. And with the heading, we've got promotional water bottles in Australia, custom printed drink bottles in Perth. Again, the titles don't quite make sense. They don't really flow. So you just want to have a very clear topic with the title and make sure you have the primary keyword in there. Now, it's a little bit unclear as to what that is because one is targeting Perth, one is targeting on a national level. This really needs to be more specific and clear. So if the user can't understand it, then Google definitely can't understand it. So this is an area that would need to be looked at. Now, looking at the heading structure again, it's very similar to the beanies page. We can see we've got drink bottles, a fairly non-descriptive H1 tag, and then a bunch of H3s that are blank. So this seems like something that would need to be resolved across all of the category pages. And it really is just a technical item that should be fairly simple, but something we can look at. Now, the next thing I want to do is just jump into the About page. And this gives us a good indication as to how much keyword cannibalization is happening on the website. A lot of these sites where this SEO hasn't been a clear focus, they'll have sort of the title tag for brand specific pages will have the primary keyword targeted through it, which doesn't make sense. And even from a user perspective, it's just a complete intent mismatch. Now, looking at the title here, we can clearly see that is the case for this website. You know, this is an about page specifically about Mad Dog Promotions, and the title tag includes their primary keyword, which is custom promotional products. And then it actually doesn't make sense because you've also got printing in there, and then you've got the location. So a lot of work to be done in terms of keyword cannibalization here. This really shouldn't be in there. It should just be purely branded title. And then same with the contact page. I would imagine that's a similar case where there's potentially keywords being targeted here. No, so this is okay. So this is actually what you'd want across the About page and any other branded pages as well. You want the brand name in there and nothing else. You don't want your primary keywords targeted through these pages. So that's another area we can look at. Now, jumping into the blog, we can see the structure of the blog post. Now, first thing that immediately stands out is there's a lot of dated blog posts here. So these are from 2019. Google has made it no secret that they do prefer freshness in content. Doesn't necessarily mean that just by republishing these that they'll rank higher. They do have to be good quality. They do have to target specific keywords and meet the search intent. But in theory, if you had two pages that were very similar in quality, typically the one that was more recent would be the one that would get prioritized in SERP. So just something to look out for here. These are probably due for a refresh. Now, if I just click on a random one here, I just want to look at the structure of these pages. Again, there's keyword cannibalization issues here. This really should not be in this blog post. So best promotional products Perth, promotional items in Australia. We've seen this across multiple pages. That this is a huge issue for this website, and it's probably restricting their rankings quite a bit. So something that should be resolved and definitely should be a priority. Heading tags, we can see here they've got one H1 tag, which isn't too bad. But then yeah, there's nothing else really. It's a very thin piece of content that's not really created for the user. It's just got internal links to to the category pages. So I would imagine that the rest of the blog posts probably follow a similar trend. We'll have a look at this one as well. This isn't too bad. I think the design of the blog post needs to be refreshed. It looks a little bit dated. And if you look at the structure of the page again, the title is okay, and then headings, again, it's just got the H1. So structurally, there's a fair bit of work to be done, and from a technical perspective, the site is probably due for a little bit of a refresh as well in terms of the blog posts and some of the category pages as well. So we'll start to jot down these in this document here, and then by the end of it, we'll have a really comprehensive list of action items that we can work on. Okay, now we have the completed action items list, and these are broken down by UX, content, backlinks, technical, and then the general suggestions here. So with this list of action items completed, that rounds up our high-level SEO analysis for Mad Dog Promotions. Now, just jumping back into the sheet, what we have so far is the keywords tab, which contains all of the existing keywords and the untapped keywords towards the bottom. So these will be opportunities that we could review and potentially target if they're suitable for this particular site. We have the technical audit, where we've done a bit of analysis on how we can improve the technical on-page performance of the site and just overall site performance. We have the content audit, where we looked at Surfer SEO for some of the specific priority pages. We have the existing backlinks, where we looked at the anchor text distribution as well as the quality of the existing links. We identified some improvement areas there. We have the backlink gap analysis, which is all the links that the competitors have, and again, potential opportunities for us to try and target. And then we have the action plan, which is this one here. So that's all been completed, and that rounds up our SEO analysis for Mad Dog Promotions. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you do own a promotional products company and you'd like your own SEO analysis, I'm more than happy to do one very similar to this. Feel free to reach out and we can go from there. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.